This is Common Sense Radio. Straightforward and no excuses.
All right. Come on now.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Call me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
What I said was perfectly right and spot on accurate.
Boy's got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting it all.
Stop. Yeah, stop. I mean, you're way off script.
Got it in me. Gonna quit until it all comes out.
Hey, boy!
Been a long education.
Yeah, you know, it's not cynical. It's common sense.
Pay attention to me when I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna rock the nation. Rock the nation.
Genuine, accountable, and raw. Here is Steve Gruber.
All right. Welcome to it. It is Tuesday. It is primary day. It is the day that you get to go out and vote. Michigan, one of many states up for grabs today for the Republicans. There's also Mississippi, Idaho, and Hawaii. Mississippi also out there for the Democrats. Here in Michigan, there are 59 Republican delegates up for grabs, 130 delegates for the Democrats. So it's a big day, and the polls are all over the place. The polls really are all over the place. But for some, they say that it doesn't matter anymore. Some are saying that winning the 7 states last Tuesday, that Donald Trump and his supporters have changed American politics and the Republican Party forever, potentially. The nomination is within grasp for him. He says he will be a unifier, but after his victories Tuesday night in multiple states and his second-place finish in others, Trump, according to Ed Rollins, a longtime Republican advisor, he says that this game is close to over. I don't believe that at this point. I mean, Trump was only up by about, 90 delegates so far. So this is an important day for Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, and John Kasich. Ben Carson clearly is out of this conversation. Where do you think it goes from here? And who are you going to vote for? Give me an idea. The poll's open here shortly. Give me an idea who you're going to vote for. 888-900-9966. Coming up here in a little bit, John Kasich will join me here on the program. Governor John Kasich of Ohio, whose numbers are surging. In fact, if the Real Clear Politics average is to be believed, John Kasich is in clear second place now. He has moved past. In fact, the numbers are even stronger for Kasich now as he continues to surge. In Michigan, it shows Donald Trump with 37% support. John Kasich now with 25% support in the state as of this morning. Ted Cruz at 19.8%, and Marco Rubio's support is plunging. He's gone from about 18% just a few days ago to 10% into the single digits now. So who are you going to vote for when it comes time? It's time to head out there. And like I said, we're going to have John Kasich here on the program to sort this out. Also, today we'll have Kyle Melinn, the editor and vice president of MERS News. Doug Sachtleben of the Club for Growth. Not Donald Trump fans. Pretty safe to say. We'll have Jared Meyer here talking about the reason that unions hate the sharing economy, things like Uber, why they're so opposed to things like Uber. So just a whole lot coming your way this primary day. We'll also have Kathy Berden here, the Republican National Committee woman for Michigan. And the real question for so many voters out there on the Republican side is simply this. If Donald Trump prevails in Michigan today, which is a big prize, is he on his way then not to be dissuaded from winning the Republican nomination? The only way that I see that not happening today is if this Kasich surge somehow takes him all the way to victory. And that would be a 12-point gap to close today, and that would be pretty unprecedented. But the fact that John Kasich has soared to 25% of the vote here in Michigan in the average of polls, this is a Fox 2 Detroit poll, Trafalgar poll, an ARG poll, and a Monmouth poll, the average comes out to give John Kasich 25% of support. Yeah, and then, let's be honest, that is a big deal. That is a big deal. Now, last night on the Democratic side, the Democrats, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, had a Fox News town hall. More of the same, really. Battling they're in Detroit, battling over the auto bailout, and then Clinton unveils, not to be outdone in the what I can give away for free. She showed up with a free tuition plan. Hillary Clinton springing a surprise alternative to Sanders' millennial-friendly free college tuition plan. Hillary Clinton now has her own free college plan for you. Now, I want to know, do I get a refund? Seriously, do I get a refund? What about all the folks that have gone before us? Do we get a refund on all the money that we've spent? Sanders seemed a little bit prickly last night, I guess. No candidate in this race has talked more about poverty than I have. It's the richest country in the history of the world. We have more income and wealth and inequality than any other major country. And the same old. All right, to the hotlines we go. Dave is on the line in Diamonddale. Let's get started with this conversation about who's voting for who and why. Dave, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
How are you?
Well, actually, it's been a very confusing period for me and a lot of other staunch conservatives.
I would agree with you there. It's not an easy choice. It's messy. It hasn't been a lot of substance from time to time, a lot of finger pointing and, insults being hurled back and forth. What have you concluded today?
Well, today, the day that matters for of Michigan voters. I've been vacillating back and forth, actually, between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. I felt that Kasich was just too far down, and I think he's more of a stopper than he is a helper at this point. And I think he's a great guy, and I think he'd do a wonderful job. I was probably leaning towards Donald Trump. My final decision came because I am solely concerned about the Supreme Court of the United States. And I just can't get my mind around that Donald Trump is going to put the people on there that are needed. And today I'm going to go and pull the lever for Ted Cruz and
because of your concern.
For the best.
And I think that's a lot of people have that same concern. The one thing you can say about Ted Cruz, there is no question about what kind of Supreme Court justice he would nominate and put up there. That's one thing that's crystal clear. You're right. You don't know what Donald Trump would put up for a Supreme Court nominee because he's kind of, all over the place. But, Dave, I appreciate you checking in. Thank you so much.
Great show, too. Thank you.
Greatly appreciate that. All right, 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. Who are you going to vote for today? And why? And I've heard a lot of sentiment like Dave just shared there. People saying that Ted Cruz is getting their vote today. John Kasich, though, is the one surging in the polls. We'll have him here on the program in just a few minutes. Still hoping for Ted Cruz to join us, too, but can't seem to lock that one in. We'll be right back on the Steve Gruber Show.
Genuine Michigan common sense on display every day.
Welcome back to it. It is, primary day here in Michigan. Time for you to make a decision. And a lot of folks, I'll tell you right now, I'm still not sure what I'm going to do. That might sound surprising to you, but I still don't know. Is it going to be Cruz, Trump, Kasich? I don't know. It's not going to be Rubio, I can tell you that, just because he is basically fallen off. I think that Marco's days are numbered in this race, so where's it going to go? I don't know. Paula is on the line to check in. Paula, welcome to it.
Hi, Steve. Yeah, by the way, I'm the one that won one of the books, and thanks, I got it in the mail.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. The Devil in the Beltway.
Yeah, great book.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm going to vote Cruz. I've been Cruz all the way, but especially because of the Supreme Court vacancy, I wouldn't want anybody else in there. I'm sure hoping that people that are heading towards Kasich, that they'll change their minds and go for Cruz. Kasich is a good guy. I mean, I really like him too, but he really doesn't have a pathway right now, and I just, people that are heading that way, they're just mucking things up, you know?
Well, John Kasich doesn't believe, and I'll ask him about this coming up here in a few minutes. I don't think he believes there's a pathway for anybody to get to 1,237 delegates. And he also, when it comes to Supreme Court justices, points to his own record of appointing really conservative justices to the Ohio Supreme Court. So we'll see how it plays out, Paula.
Yeah.
You're a Cruz woman, and
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yep, thanks a lot.
All right. Next down the line, Steve joining us on the phone. Steve, welcome to the program. Stevie, are you there?
Good morning, sir. I didn't hear you.
That's all right.
Anyway, getting to it. I believe that Marco Rubio's days are numbered, as you do. I'm sorry to tell you, I believe that the senior members of the Republican Party are almost like Democratic operatives. When you look at the way Ryan handed them the budget, when you look at the refusal to defund Obamacare, when you look at Marco Rubio and part of the Gang of Eight, I don't have anything good to say. I am leaning toward the Cruz Trump and more Cruz right now, only for one reason, and that's the Supreme Court.
You know, and that's what a lot of people keep coming back to, because you know exactly what he'll do with the Supreme Court. Donald Trump, like a lot of things, he a lot of bluster and a lot of rhetoric, but what would he really do with the Supreme Court? Who knows?
But in all fairness, the other part of that is I think Trump is evolving. I think he has come a long way. I think it's a genuine man because he came out of nowhere and he had it with a bunch of buffoons that are trying to lead us down the path. And I just I think that it's a tough call.
It is a tough call. You're going to go in there saying, "Listen, I'm getting a headache over it. I'll be glad when it's over so I can clear my head, Stevie." I'll tell you that. Yeah. And
Thank
move
you
on.
for the privilege of coming on, sir.
Always a pleasure, Steve. Always a pleasure. Thank you. Let's see. We've got Mike on the line as well. The phone number for you, by the way, is 888-900-9966. 888-900-9966. I'm hearing a theme again today that I've heard before, which is it's Trump or it's Cruz or it's Trump. But somebody out there is supporting John Kasich because, according to the Real Clear Politics average, John Kasich has soared into second place here with 25% support of the state. So somebody out there is supporting the man. Mike on the line. Mike, welcome to it.
Thanks, Steve. How you doing this morning?
Doing well. Yourself?
I'm doing terrific, thanks. Well, now that Ben Carson is out of the race, I am now supporting Ted Cruz. I like his ideas. I think he has a good conservative message for this country, and he's going to get my vote today. And if Mitt Romney would have gone after Barack Obama like he did Donald Trump, chances are he would be president today.
100%.
What's that?
100%.
You know, the Republicans are not going to lose this election because of Trump. They're going to lose because they keep tearing each other apart. If Donald Trump if he wins and gets a GOP nomination, so be it. I will not support Hillary Clinton for president. And if they keep going after Trump, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, you know, here's the thing, though. The one thing that Trump brings to the table that others don't, including Ted Cruz, in my estimation, he brings a lot more crossover voters, and he gets a knock for that. People knock on him for that. But because he attracts Democrats, should not be a penalty to Donald Trump. It should be a positive for some folks, anyhow. And we can only hope that if Ted Cruz is the nominee, that he, too, could attract as many people from across the aisle. Mike, thank you for checking in. It is primary day here. It's the Steve Gruber Show. The phone number to call is 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. Pick up the phone, give us a call. Who we going? All right, we got another Mike checking in today. Mike, welcome to it. Mike,
hey, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. I actually agree with the other Mike that was just on. I was rooting for Carson, and now that he's out, I'm a Cruz guy.
So a lot of Cruz support out there today. I wonder if there's, based on what we're hearing here this morning, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how the results come out. But if Ted Cruz wins here in Michigan, I would say that the polling was off. I think it'd be fair to say. The phone number is 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. Now, Mike, what is your driving reason for supporting Ted Cruz? All right, he's gone. Who we got next? All right, we're going to go to Dave. He's on the line in Grand Rapids. Dave, welcome to it.
Yeah, pretty interesting listening to your informal poll.
Very informal.
I've been a Cruz fan for a while and given to his campaign. It's a lot of things. It's the taxes. It's listen to the establishment Republicans talk hate on him. Look at how many delegates he won last weekend. People aren't bringing that up.
Yeah,
he won more delegates last weekend.
Good point, Dave. Thanks for checking in. Now, straight ahead, Governor John Kasich will join me here on the program, so we'll listen to him for a bit. Then we'll take more of your phone calls as soon as Governor John Kasich is complete here on the Steve Gruber Show. One bit of feedback from David. David's on the road. He said, thanks for getting Kasich. I won't vote for him, but thanks for the interview. He sounds like somebody who wants the D.C. elites to make the choice on who the nominee is. He says, I don't like Trump's nationalistic populism, but at least he's asking the voters to vote for him and not the Republican leadership. So that's an interesting bit of feedback. Bill on the line as well. Here's Bill on the hotline, by the way, 888-900-9966. Who are you voting for? What did you think of John Kasich and more? Bill, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Yeah, see, I didn't. I'm voting for Trump. I didn't know if you had mentioned to Kasich about his immigration policy, because that's big to me, because I think that has a lot to do with jobs. And when they were discussing Donald Trump's wanting to build a wall, John Kasich said that he wants to build a bridge, not a wall. So, so what's the difference between him and Rubio?
That was rhetorically speaking.
He wants to welcome illegal immigration.
Well, I think that was a rhetorical comment that he was making. And I'm not going to defend the guy. I believe that was rhetorical. You make a valid point. The border is critical to most people, and I think that people that don't support Kasich would point to things like, well, we had George W. Bush who did nothing to secure the border. We had Bill Clinton who did nothing to secure the border. We had George H.W. Bush who did nothing to secure the border. And, further. And so they would, your position would be, Bill, that this problem continues to go on and on and on. And I can't refute that. But that's why I put these folks on. I think John Kasich is a decent candidate who's done a lot of good things. But is he going to line up with all people in all places? Absolutely not. So there you go. Go yank that. Go yank it for Trump. Bill's going to be a Trump voter today. Who's going to win in Michigan today? Trump, Cruz? Is Kasich going to make some sort of a spoiler position? The phone number, 888-900-9966. I'll be taking your calls after the top of the hour as well. 888-900-9966. Who are you voting for and why? Back on the Steve Gruber Show.
This is Common Sense Radio. Straightforward and no excuses.
All right. Come on now.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Call me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
What I said was perfectly right and spot on accurate.
Boy's got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting it all.
Stop.
Got it
Yeah, stop. I mean, you're way off script.
Got it in me. Gonna quit until it all comes out.
Hey, boy.
Been a long education.
Yeah, it's not cynical. It's common sense.
Pay attention to me when I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna rock
Genuine, accountable, and raw. Here is Steve Gruber.
All right, my friends, the advisors to Marco Rubio telling him today it's probably time to exit the race before being embarrassed along the way. Marco had a pretty good run there for a while. Polling numbers were very good for a period of time, but as of late, the erosion of support for Marco Rubio has been tremendous, and it didn't matter what he did, even turning into attack Donald Trump on his own level recently. Yeah, on his own level recently, it didn't do enough. And Donald Trump continues to be on top. In Michigan, it looks like Donald Trump should win here. He should win going away because right now the latest polls show Donald Trump with somewhere in the high 30s, high 30% range for support, which is obviously enough that you're carrying him through the day. Who are you going to support today? We'll still take your phone calls throughout the day. 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966, the number to call. Share with me who you think you're going to be supporting today and why. It looks like Marco Rubio. If you're a Marco Rubio supporter, well, looks like things are in trouble for you. Let's go to the hotline. Jennifer is on the line in Flint today, WFNT territory, Flint, Michigan. Jennifer, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for taking my call. I do like Donald Trump very much, but I'm voting for Ted Cruz. The reason being that when I'm sending someone to rescind and nullify all the executive orders that Obama has put into place, I want someone that is educated and understanding of the Constitution inside out and backwards and has certificates of being a lawyer, admitted to the bar, so that when he does rescind those orders, they can't pull anything over on him.
So do you have any concerns whatsoever about, because I still see a little bit lingering comments about Cruz's eligibility to run. Does that concern you in the least?
Mr. Cruz is an attorney. No, I have no qualms about him running. None whatsoever.
Right.
I think he's the only one that can really save this country. He and Donald, they're the only two that are left.
All right. Who do you see as a running mate, Jennifer, before I let you run?
Well, if Donald's elected, I'd like to see Cruz in there as a Supreme Court justice.
Well, there you go. All right, Jennifer. Thanks for checking in. Jennifer checking in from Flint. The phone number here, 888-900-9966. Taking your calls all day about who you're supporting and why. I want to know. It's been a lot of support for Cruz this morning, but who else is out there? Any Trump supporters? We got one here a moment ago. No supporters for Kasich, but somebody must be supporting the guy because his numbers are, well, they've gone from like 5% a week or two ago to 25%. Let's go to Tom on the line in Lansing. Tom, welcome to the program.
Family's going for Trump. We're Trumpsters.
You're Trumpsters?
Yes.
Yeah, and why are you Trumpsters?
Well, I think Trump will get the job done. He's not a BSer. I think he'll be the one to take apart Obama's administration.
Now, hold on, Tom, and I'm not taking exception with your comment, but come on, Trump's a bit of a BSer. That's why people like him. I mean, he's kind of a guy that you have and laugh with because he'll BS with you.
Well, I think he'll do what he says. I think he's a Second Amendment person. I look at the other candidates. Kasich reminds me of a reformed alcoholic up on stage. He has a shake to him and stuff. He reminds me of an old drunk that that's sobered up and come in at. And Rubio, I don't know. He could or could not be maybe Fidel's illegitimate kid. I don't know.
Come on now. That's not very charitable. All right, Tom, I greatly appreciate it. You're a Trumpster.
The truth. But that we're Trumpsters, that's how we're rolling.
All right. Get her done. Thank you. All right, the phone line, he's a Trumpster, and I don't think it's fair to say that Kasich looks like a recovering alcoholic. That's a bit rough. All right, 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. Tim is on the line, also in Lansing today. A couple of the capital city guys checking in. Tim, what's on your mind?
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Voting for Trump today based on the fact that if we don't have a robust economy based on capitalism, we're not going to have any argument on any other policy position, period.
No, basically what you're saying, Tim, is if we're broke, there's not much left to talk about anyway.
That's for sure. And I'm fairly conservative. I have been, for the most part, support Republicans through my life, but not always. However, I've been pretty disgusted in the party and the elite and the establishment. And it's time to get back to what made this country great to start with, and that's using individual ingenuity to figure things out and to make people's lives better, and thereby earn an income rather than rely on the government.
So you're a Trumpster.
Absolutely supporting Trump. Yeah, he's had a few failed businesses, but let me tell you, he's had a lot more successful businesses than most people could ever dream of. He's an entrepreneur, and when you consider that, 50, 70% of small businesses fail in the first 2 years, that's what capitalism and entrepreneurship is all about. You go out and you try. It doesn't always work out.
You make something occur to me, Tim, when you said that. If the United States government was a business right now, it would already be in default and receivership. If it were an actual business in the real world, the way it's been run, because it has so much debt, it's unsustainable. So there you go. And so we end up with a place where people like Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders have never run anything, well, except their mouths. And they've run those pretty well, but they've never run a business, is my point. And so they sit there and take shots at Trump. But then most of the people on the stage with Trump have never run businesses and have a real good understanding of how that works. I do. I know what it's like to lay awake at night and try to make sure you're going to make payroll. I get that.
That's correct. And if, we continue to give away and perpetuate this dependency mindset, sooner or later the resources dry up. I don't care if you're pulling them from the top 0.5% or whatever, and we become pretty much a vanilla, flavored country that really cannot support itself or really, for that matter, make a difference.
Yeah, if we're broke, what else can we do? Yeah, you can't even provide for the common defense if you're broke.
Like Cruz, my concern is we went so far one way with Obama, we'd go far the other way with Cruz, and we'd end up right back where we're at right now, not getting along. It's time for us to pull it up by the bootstraps and get some economy going again around here.
All right, Tim, thanks for checking in. I greatly appreciate your input. There you have it. About evenly split now between Cruz supporters and Donald Trump supporters. We'll see what happens today, but it is important to vote. Could be record turnout for the vote today. For the Republicans, that is. It's 14 after. We'll still take your calls for the rest of the day. 888-900-9966. 888-900-9966. It's the Steve Gruber Show.
Covering Michigan and the world from his bunker below the bridge. Here is Steve Gruber.
Da, da, da. Da, da, da. Da, da, da.
All right, welcome to it. It is primary day. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? The phone number here, 888-900-9966. 888-900-9966. Rudy on the line in Lansing. Rudy, what are your thoughts today?
I'm a diehard Trump fan, sir, all the way.
Trumpster?
Yes, sir.
Are you expecting a win today?
Yes, I am.
So let me ask you this, Rudy. A lot of folks say, and this is Republicans and Democrats and the media, of course, the mainstream grouping, if you will, say that Trump stands no chance in the general election. Do you buy into that?
No, I don't, sir, because when he first got into the race, they kept saying that he never had a chance to do anything. Look where he's at now. See what's going on now. They're so afraid of Trump that they're trying to do anything and everything to get him out of there.
Now, why do you think that is? I mean, I've noticed that too. The mainstream media, the Democrats mock him, the establishment Republicans, if you will, attack and mock him. Why is that?
Why, if I was a Republican already in office, man, Trump comes in there, he's taking my nest egg away from me. It's almost like the welfare system here. These guys are in there, they get their check every month, they stand up there, jump up and down for 5 minutes, and what? Nothing's done, and they say, well, we tried. And Trump gets in there, he's going to do things.
Well, I guess there's a chance we might actually find out, Rudy. Thanks for the phone call. You can check in at 888-900-9966. We're going to jump over to our next guest now, Kyle Melinn, who often sits in this chair if I'm unavailable to be here, and he also is the vice president and editor of MERS News. Kyle, welcome back to the program.
Good morning, Steve. Happy Election Day.
Happy Election Day. Well, primary day. Big day, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's nice. Isn't it nice, though, that Michigan was actually, the focus for once of something important, so therefore we had a chance to hear from the candidates. I just had Governor Kasich on for about half an hour here a little bit ago. It's nice to have the candidates available to us to hear what they have to say.
It is nice, especially when they make themselves available. And I got to say, John Kasich has been extremely accessible to the media in this state, to the public in this state, going across from one end of the coast to the other. And, maybe it's just because he's an Ohio guy, he's a Midwest guy, so, he likes to shift his focus here. But it's very rare that you get something like that. Donald Trump isn't going to be issuing one-on-ones with people. Hillary Clinton sure isn't. She practically, runs from the media screaming. Bernie Sanders is somewhat accessible. But I got to say, John Kasich has been, without a doubt, next to Rand Paul, the most accessible person during this primary election.
All right. Well, the thing is, and maybe what you just explained about the accessibility to the media has gotten John Kasich an opportunity to get his message out there, because according to Real Clear Politics now, and the average of polls, he's at 25%, running in a strong second place behind Donald Trump in Michigan, which would be very newsworthy if it ended that way. If Ted Cruz comes in third place in Michigan, it would be a great disappointment, I believe, to the Cruz fans. And not particularly helpful after a big weekend that he just had. Cruz picked up 2 primaries on the weekend. If he comes in third in Michigan, that's not a good thing to have happen.
I think Cruz, I'm surprised he isn't doing more in Mississippi. And I know he spent yesterday in Mississippi. They're also going to the polls today, and Idaho as well. And maybe I think he feels like that's a better use of his resources. When things are dumbed down, it seems like in the national media, they're just looking at wins. They don't kind of look at it as, well, he won a state that only has a few delegates. They look at it as, wow, he just won a state. And I think that's where he's focusing his attention. Cruz has put very little political capital into Michigan in the last week or two. I mean, he does have an organization here. Patrick Colbeck, state senator, has been supporting him. Wendy Day's been doing a great job. Solon Nusis has been doing a good job getting together and rallying people to support Cruz. But in the last few days, it's really been all about Kasich. And I would be surprised if Kasich doesn't finish in second place today and make a run at Trump. I don't think he's going to beat Trump. I think Trump's supporters are pretty locked in, like your last guest or your last caller said. He's locked into Trump, and I don't think anything's going to be changed in their minds. And as long as they show up, I expect Trump to get, 38, 37% of support. Maybe Kasich can get 25, 26. I think the question is if he can narrow it down to double or single digits. If he can get it within 9 or 8, that would be pretty eye-opening. But just, he'd still get some delegates on that. Cruz would still get some delegates if he gets over 15%. That's kind of the magic number for people to watch. Does the candidate get 15% here in Michigan? If they do, they will at least get one delegate. And will they win a congressional district? You'll get a delegate for that too. We got 14 congressional districts, and if your candidate can win one of those, squeeze out a win, then you get a delegate there too. But I expect Trump to get the majority.
You know what we're not talking about here today, which kind of surprises me at this point. But the one thing we're not talking about today is Marco Rubio, just an absolute non-factor.
Well, and I think that just speaks to, his bad debate performance on Thursday. I think people were really turned off by the back and forth with Trump. I mean, he got into the mud with Trump. And, the folks who like Trump, that debate didn't faze them at all. The kind of people Rubio was trying to appeal to are turned off by those kind of antics and weren't going to support Trump anyway. They were looking for an alternative. And then Kasich decided to try, and so he gave them a reason to go somewhere else because Kasich looked like the adult in the debate. And then Rubio also looked at polling, saw he was losing Florida, and so he had to abandon Michigan. He has to go back to Florida because if he doesn't win his own state, then he's kind of screwed. And he realizes that, so that's why he kind of abandoned Michigan, and he's just going to have to be content with last place here in our state.
Yeah.
And he's not going to get any delegates.
Michigan's one of the open primaries. This is the state that is more conducive to a Donald Trump win than the closed primaries, Republican-only primaries that Cruz has tended to do better. But Kyle, we'll look and see what happens today. So that's why you think Trump wins, and then the battle is for second place between Cruz and Kasich, really.
It really is. And we'll see how Hillary does. 60% is what I'd say, over 60.
All right. Kyle Melinn, always a pleasure.
Hey, good to be with you, Steve.
There you have it. Kyle Melinn, the vice president and editor of MERS News. We'll be right back on the Steve Gruber Show.
Michigan, born and raised with Midwestern values and Michigan common sense.
You're pushing too hard at what you want it to be. You're pushing too hard about the things you say. You're pushing too hard every night.
It's a big day in Michigan. 59 Republican delegates up for grabs, 130 Democratic delegates. The Republicans also voting in Mississippi, Idaho, and Hawaii today. Democrats will also be casting votes in Mississippi as well as Michigan. Big day. Hillary Clinton should just dominate here from all the polling. She has made political hay out of Flint, and that should power her to a tremendous win today. Bernie Sanders picked up 3 over last weekend, but he'll be stifled today, it seems like. And it looks like Trump's probably going to win in Michigan, but I wouldn't say that for sure yet because the polls are pretty fluid. Let's check in with Dave on the hotline in Flint first to see who he's supporting. Dave, welcome to the program.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me. Hey, Cruz is the only guy that I believe is going to go in there and deconstruct the mess that's been created by Obama. I think he has the know-how to get rid of the executive orders, to get rid of the Obamacare, to really go through with a fine-tooth comb all the things that with these agencies that Obama's been doing. And if we don't have that, then all we're doing is maybe slowing things down a bit. We need to disassemble the mess.
Yeah, there's a lot of disassembling. That's going to be a lot of heavy lifting, Dave. But thanks for checking in. I appreciate you taking the time. The phone number here is 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. Our next guest, Doug Sachtleben, is from the Club for Growth. And, Doug, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me on again, Steve. Appreciate it.
Looks like Donald Trump's probably going to win in Michigan today. But like I say, the polls are fairly fluid, so I'm not going to make any predictions at this point, of course, because, there could be surprises here. And John Kasich making a surge in Michigan, which is notable, I would say, over the last couple of weeks. Anyhow, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the prediction business has taken a beating this cycle, that's for sure. I think we've seen the polls closing there in Michigan. I think Mississippi will be interesting just in light of Louisiana, and we saw that close. I think there was an expectation that Trump would do extremely well, and it ended up being a tie in terms of delegates there. And I think Idaho is in play for Cruz, so it could be a very interesting day. And a day of close races, not the kind of blowouts that we've seen at some points in this race.
So for the Club for Growth, though, Doug, I mean, obviously you are not in the Trump camp. That's pretty clear. Right. What are you hoping for? Because right now, I mean, I had Governor Kasich on here just a little bit ago. Was on the program with me today for quite some time. And he flat out admitted there's a very limited way to get to 1,237 delegates. He doesn't think anybody could get there. He's basically staying in and saying, listen, let's go for a brokered convention. I don't know if that's a good plan for the Republicans either.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to argue as far as trying to we're not going to be supporters necessarily of saying we got to do the best thing for the party. The Club for Growth, we've long fought the establishment and a lot of the Republican shenanigans that have gone on here. That's why we were supporters of Cruz when he was running for the Senate. By the same token, if you don't get to 1237, then that's the way it comes down to. You go to a convention and everybody votes that first round, and then it's wide open. And it leaves the possibility that, as we've seen in this race, it's very fluid in terms of what comes out about the candidates, what could come out between now and then. Sorry about if the siren's loud in the background here. It should go away.
That's all right. Are you guilty, or are you going to get away with it, Doug? That's all I want to know.
I think this time I'm in the clear.
All right, good. That's what I want to know. Yep. Anyhow, go on.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you come in there with anybody hitting 1237, then it's wide open, and it'll be up to the candidates again to make their case in front of the delegates. I don't know that that's the worst case scenario at this point by any stretch.
Well, I wonder, though, see, my concern about a broker convention is pretty simple. If it goes in there, the Trump supporters, a lot of Trump supporters, are going to believe that they got shafted, that it was rigged, that it was set up by the party elite, and that their vote never really counted for anything, and therefore they're getting the short end of this stick. And so that's what the Republican Party's problem is going to be, is explaining that to the people that voted, saying, well, your vote did count, but did it really?
Yeah, and that's the problem this party has had now for years, in terms of people having the sense that nobody's listening here in Washington, and in large part with the kind of deals that they've cut with President Obama and with Harry Reid and all that. They've left themselves open to that charge again and again. What happens at a convention, I mean, he's going to have to be transparent to the degree that people see the votes and see the case that's made. And again, I think a lot can happen. We continue to hear stories about the mainstream media sitting on stories concerning Donald Trump and his past, and I don't know what's true and what isn't at this point. But if it allows more time for some of all these stories to unfold, then so be it. At least we hear some of it before it gets into a general election.
Yeah, we're on the line here with Doug Sachtleben from the Club for Growth, and I mean, the fact of the matter is, I guess the bottom line is this for a lot of folks. We had a Trump supporter on the line here a little bit ago who said, "Listen, unless we get the economy under control, nothing else matters." His opinion, and a lot of the opinion of a lot of the Russian, the Trump supporters are that in order to get this done, they have to go with him because otherwise it's all going to be lost.
Yeah, and I'll agree with him on half of that, and that's that. The exit polls frequently show that economy and jobs are still paramount, even though national security and immigration get probably the most attention and are high. I mean, not to dismiss them at all, but people still see that this recovery has been awful, if you can even call it that, and they want to see somebody who's really serious about jobs. Certainly Donald Trump has made that case. Our argument at the Club for Growth has been, if you look at his long-term history, it's hard to tell exactly what he'd do because he's been so all over the map in terms of taxes and bailouts and the government's role in the economy. And so that's the troubling part of all that. I think we know from Cruz, I think your caller just before me had said it, I mean, I think we see somebody who's consistent and understands what needs to be done and can get it done and has stood on the right positions on economic issues for a long time.
Well, here's an economic issue for you to weigh in on, and that is there are 61 million immigrants in America today, more than there have ever been. 16 million now, the new number estimated to be illegally here. That cannot be good for the American economy. I don't care that people say, well, there's jobs that Americans won't do. 16 million people in America that are illegal cannot be good for the economy. And again, you come back to I'm pressing you on this one, Doug, because the only person really talking about that and trying to find a solution for that, like it or not, and as much vitriol as there is with it, is Donald Trump. I mean, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I do understand that he's been the loudest voice in the room on that. I think it takes away from Senator Cruz to say that he wasn't arguing for securing the borders and building a wall well before Donald Trump brought this issue to light. I think Cruz, again, Club for Growth has not taken a stand on that particular issue, but I guess I just simply wouldn't dismiss Cruz as having been out of the discussion on this by any stretch and having not been on the right side as far as a lot of people see in the need to secure the border. The question comes down to dealing with visas, the H-1B visas. I mean, there was an interesting story that's sort of come to light about Trump's hiring down at Mar-a-Lago of those who are here on foreign visas, and he blames it all on being seasonal, when the reality is the Palm Beach Employment Council has said, we've got lots of U.S. residents here who would take these jobs, and yet Mar-a-Lago seems to want to take the folks on the foreign visas. So there's some hypocrisy perhaps there that time might expose.
All right, Doug, greatly appreciate it. Doug Sachtleben from the Club for Growth here on the program again. Doug, always a pleasure.
Same here, Steve. Thank you.
We'll talk soon about all of this as the elections continue. We'll also take your phone calls. Phil and others hanging on the line to share their ideas about who they're voting for today. 888-900-9966. We'll be right back on the Steve Gruber Show.
Keeping you in touch with Michigan and the world.
All right, will the Trump train roll through Michigan today? That's the question. Or will he be sidetracked and derailed by Ted Cruz or maybe even John Kasich? Taking your phone calls here to talk about it on primary day, 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. Phil in Kalamazoo joining us next. Phil, what's on your mind?
Well, a couple things. First of all, for those Trump supporters, I would say to them, who is Trump going to put on the Supreme Court? And that's a very important issue for our country. And could it be that Trump is just a loose cannon? We don't know what he's going to do. I was the 12th voter in our precinct this morning at a half hour past the polls opening, so I don't see a big turnout so far. And I support Cruz because I think he is a strict constitutionalist and will have the right people on the Supreme Court.
Phil, thank you for checking in. I greatly appreciate that. Phil from Kalamazoo, WKMI country. By the way, Annette just sent me a note. She just returned from the polling place, said very heavy turnout. She's voting in Holt, Michigan today. Very heavy turnout, she says. We'll keep an eye on that. So for those of you that have voted, keep me up to date on what the turnout looks like. Scott next on the hotline in Lansing. Scott, welcome to the program.
Hey, Steve. Hey, I just want to ask all the Cruz supporters what kind of candidate they think they have for their general election. He can't win in the Deep South, and, I think they're going to have to team up, him and the Donald, to get any traction. The news media is going to destroy both of them, and we're watching history get made. So don't get too down on the Donald. You got a guy that's stepping up to the plate and working his ass off.
Well, Scott, that'd be one of the arguments, is that Donald Trump can attract Democrats to the cause and make it a more of a big tent political party. So we'll keep an eye on that. Scott, thanks for checking in. Jim, checking in from Harbor Springs now to the north. Jim, how are things looking up there today?
Looking pretty good. I was the first one at my voting booth today. I'm a Trump supporter, and Ted Cruz now, he's got some baggage too. I mean, he's got a loan out with Goldman Sachs to help his campaign. His wife is a main person at Goldman Sachs. All these candidates, except for Donald Trump, are pretty much on the mainstream, connected with Wall Street bankers and the political party. What I'm going to see, and I don't want to see, but the Republicans will actually give Hillary Clinton. I mean, if Donald Trump gets the bid, I mean, they're going to try as hard as they can to get Hillary Clinton in, and that's why I think people are so mad at the Republican Party, because they don't care unless they get their traditional, in the pocket person in there. And Hillary's one of those people too that'll go along with everybody on Wall Street.
Don't you think though that Jim? Don't you think that Hillary Clinton? I mean, just here, a month ago, some things are being said about Donald Trump's war on women, and Donald Trump mentioned Bill Clinton and how he had philandered women and so forth. And all of a sudden, Hillary Clinton she shut up. It set her right back in her seat. And they said, "Well, we better not touch that one." I mean, who else is going to have the gall, frankly, to say to Hillary those sorts of things besides Donald Trump? I don't know that. I mean, he delivers it in such a way that I think he has an ability to deliver that punch in an effective way.
Well, she has so much dirt behind her that she's going to be an easy target. But again, I think if they go with the broken convention and get somebody like, Mitt Romney, my God, give me a break, or Ted Cruz, it's people. I mean, I'm going to be really upset. I've been voting all these years, and I think finally we have somebody who's going to get in there. And I really do think if Trump gets in there, he's going to have Judge Napolitano be selected for the Supreme Court. And all these people that say Trump's going to be a loose cannon, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think he's going to be extremely well at foreign policy. He's going to work really well with other countries. He's not going to be a war hawk like all the Kasich and Cruz and the rest of these guys are. I think we need someone in there that's not going to go to war because, the wind's blowing the wrong way. We got to get our troops home, and I think Donald Trump is going to really fix this country. And I'm really sorry that if people are believing all this junk that the mainstream media, I mean, stop and think, folks. Everybody in the media, everybody in the Republican Party is against Trump. Why? Because they're afraid of him, because their positions are not going to be safe anymore. he's going to bust this whole thing wide open, and I can't wait for it. I've been looking all my life for this, Steve.
All right,
and
Jim.
I think Donald Trump is the one that's going to give us. Thank you, sir.
Jim, thank you so much from Harbor Springs, WMKT. Let's see. Listening to WATT, that's Cadillac. Donald Trump was just there in Cadillac. Evan is checking in from Cadillac today. Evan, welcome to the program.
Hey, Steve. Hey, thanks for taking my call. Hey, I wanted to call and say my main concern is Donald Trump has a multi-billion-dollar business that is his focus and his priority. Donald Trump does what's good for Donald Trump, not what's good for the country. I would be shocked if he could list 3 constitutional amendments. I mean, Ted Cruz knew it at 13 years old. He had it memorized. You know, the two books on his kitchen table were the Holy Bible and the Constitution. I mean, I guess I don't need anything else.
Well, the problem, one thing about that, Evan, I'll say this. If Donald Trump does become president, which who knows if that would happen or not, but if he did become president, all of his investments, all of his assets, everything, his companies included, would all go into blind trust. Anyhow, Evan, thanks for checking in. We got a chance for one more call here. We got Clancy on the line in Langsburg. Clancy, what's on your mind?
Hey, Steve, going out to vote for Bernie today. Tired of you rich Republicans. Time for me to sit back on my couch and enjoy the spoils for a while.
Well, yeah. So that's why we're working today, Clancy, so you can vote for Bernie, feel the burn?
Yeah, in fact, I might even take the day off today just to let you guys work and pay my way for a while.
I appreciate that. You know, I've been telling people, Clancy, that if you're feeling the burn, you certainly need to see a physician. You know, that's my advice.
I was feeling the burn yesterday, and I got some ointment, but it didn't go away. So.
All right. Make sure you go vote. And I'm guessing you're not going to vote for Bernie, Clancy. Thank you for checking in, my friend. All right, we got to run. We got to hit a break here, but keep the phone calls coming. You know, he might need to see a doctor there. But, think about that, though. The guy wants to sit home on his couch so you and I can go to work and enjoy the spoils because, well, that's what socialism would teach us, isn't it? Good calls today. Keep them coming. 888-900-9966. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, welcome back to it. Still taking your calls. 888-900-9966. Brian, he fumbled the phone. So if you can still get back in from Kalamazoo, Alex fumbled the phone. He apologizes to Dave now. Dave, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Steve. Hey, I hear a lot of people wondering about who Trump would pick and who Hillary would pick. For Hillary, or Villery, as I like to call her, I think it's real easy. If she picks Joe Biden, that keeps Barack Obama from going ahead with the indictment against her. And for Trump, I think Trump Kasich. I said, well, come on, tell me she wouldn't think like that.
Well, fair
now,
point.
For Trump, it's real easy. Trump picks Kasich. That's a nice, decent ticket. We have some experience. We have a businessman. We have good foreign policy. And if he goes ahead and puts Ted Cruz in as our next Supreme Court adjustment, we have a good constitutionalist on the bench.
Yeah, for a long time. And Ted Cruz is in his 40s. But can you imagine? What the confirmation hearings would be like with Ted Cruz on the receiving end of those questions from those angry Democrats? It'd be a free-for-all, Dave. Thanks for checking in, and it'd be very entertaining. Dave, I greatly appreciate the phone call. The number here on the hotline is 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. Brian in Kalamazoo now. Brian, sorry about the fumble on the phone, but welcome back.
Thanks, Steve. I just came from the voting booth. We had a great turnout there. I'm really excited about Donald Trump. Non-politician, really good on his foreign policy, and I think he really resonates with the American people and how angry we are with the way things have been going for the last 8 years.
Can Donald Trump attract enough Democrats, union people, and those sorts of folks to win the general election, do you think there, Brian?
I think he can. I think he definitely could take Michigan. I think he's going to grab some of those Reagan Democrats. I think he can pull them over. I think he has a good shot at it.
All right, Brian, thanks for checking in, my friend, and thank you to all of you so far. Keep it coming. Sean says over in Muskegon, pretty heavy voter turnout there. Annette said the same thing in Holt. Voter turnout pretty decent around the state. Is it going to be record-setting? That's the real question. We'll take more of your phone calls at 888-900-9966 at the top of the hour. It's voting day, primary day on the Steve Gruber Show.
This is Common Sense Radio. Straightforward and no excuses.
All right. Come on now.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Call me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
What I said was perfectly right and spot on accurate.
Boy's got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting it all.
Stop. Yeah, stop. I mean, you're way off script.
Got it in me. Gonna quit until it all comes out.
Hey, boy.
Been a long education.
Yeah, it's not cynical. It's common sense.
Pay attention to me when I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna rock the nation. Rock the nation.
Genuine, accountable, and raw. Here is Steve Gruber.
All right, my friends, it's voting day, primary day here in Michigan. 59 delegates up for grabs for the Republicans. Republicans will also be casting ballots in Mississippi, Idaho, and Hawaii. For the Democrats, Mississippi and Michigan on tap for today. For the Democrats, 130 delegates up for grabs. Looks like Hillary will walk away with that pretty easily here. For the Republican side, the Real Clear Politics average shows Donald Trump in the lead, but the battle raging for second place, and I mean raging, between Ted Cruz and John Kasich. Marco Rubio has become a non-factor here in Michigan. All right, the phone number, the hotline number, 888-900-9966 for you to get on board. First, we're going to take a break for a moment, though, and talk about one of the big constituencies that'll be a factor come the general election for sure, and that is unions across America. And unions hate this whole idea of a sharing economy. And what do I mean by sharing economy? I mean things like Uber and Uber drivers that don't get themselves unionized. In fact, avoid it like the plague. Jared Meyer here from the Manhattan Institute to talk more about it. Jared, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, Steve.
Give me an idea. Why do unions hate this whole notion so much?
Well, I think the central theme to the sharing economy is flexibility and workers being able to be their own bosses, work whenever they want, and earn some extra income to either smooth out income or gain something so that they can pay rent or meet their mortgage. And the union model, it's antithetical to this flexible workplace. So unions face declining membership, and the sharing economy, a growing sector of the economy, just doesn't work for unions.
How dare people think for themselves? I mean, really. Well, what audacity do people have to think that they can survive on their own, create their own economy, their own income, and not have to answer to a union? How ridiculous?
Well, another thing that's really driving unions crazy is the sharing economy is a magnet for young workers. And unions desperately need more young workers to shore up their broke pension funds. You see the same push on the Fight for 15, trying to get the high turnover young fast food industry unionized. So all of this is just a blatant push to try to pay for their past mistakes so that they can keep union bosses' salaries high and keep generous pensions for retirees. They don't care about young workers.
What are unions going to do? I mean, the AFL-CIO, for example, has withheld any endorsement thus far this election season, which is unusual. By this point, they should have jumped behind Hillary Clinton. They have not. They're actually waiting to see if Donald Trump becomes the nominee for the Republicans, and they will then endorse Donald Trump, which makes some conservatives and Republicans shudder. However, it should more frighten the Democrats, should it not?
Well, I think we're seeing a shakeup in American politics. Labor used to be a force to be reckoned with. They would, run a primary challenge against you if you didn't make sure that the next collectively bargained agreement was fully paid for by future taxpayers. But now we're seeing that the unionized American middle class tends to lean more Republican. So while unions are coming out and supporting democratic and progressive ideas like actions to counter climate change or spending in other areas besides labor, you see that the priorities of union members and even union bosses are starting to shift away from Democratic politicians.
Well, and there you have it. You see, here in Michigan, for example, where we are, and it's primary day here in Michigan. Michigan is the 5th largest union state now, and union membership's like 14% or something like that. Places like California, New York, and Nevada have higher percentages of union workers. But unions have shedded their power, and a lot of it has gone away. But in Michigan, it is still a lethal voting bloc. But here's what I'm seeing. I talked to a guy last night, lifelong Democrat, his entire family, lifelong Democrats, says we cannot support Hillary Clinton ever because she is opposed to our other fundamental belief, which is the right to keep and bear arms. So these people find themselves at a crossroad. They've been lifelong Democrats. They're union members. I know this family. They're hardcore. And today they're going to vote for Donald Trump. It's a different world, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. But as I said, and you brought it up, how union membership has been declining, even in traditionally states that have traditional levels of high unionization. But now in the private sector, it's below 7%. And for young people, it's even lower. In fact, the youth unionization rate is the lowest it's ever been since all the collective bargaining standards were put in place. So this is something that's entirely left the new economy behind. Rather than update their business model, unions continue to push the outdated, inflexible workplace, and they wonder why they have problems attracting young workers.
Yeah, no question. It's a new world, and it's interesting that the union numbers are dwindling and falling the way they are, especially when you've got people like Bernie the socialist running around. You know, everybody should be in a union comrade, and yet unions are shedding their memberships and getting smaller all the time. I'll give you 30 seconds for the last word here, Jared.
Well, over 50% of Uber drivers work under 10 hours a week, and over 80% of Lyft drivers work under 15 hours a week. These are flexible opportunities the sharing economy provides for young workers, older workers, everyone in between. And unions either need to update their model so they can provide value for members, or they need to stop getting in the way of a promising sector of the American economy.
There you go. Jared Meyer, thank you so much for stopping in today. Good conversation, and a good thing to watch in this election season is unions, their role, and what kind of clout they still have. Jared, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks.
There you have it, Jared Meyer joining us from the Manhattan Institute. All right, to the phone calls we go. The hotlines are still popping pretty good. 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. Kim has been waiting patiently online in Perry. Kim, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning.
Good morning.
I was undecided going into a couple weeks ago into the debate, but I feel that Trump uses bluster and name-calling to avoid answering tough questions on his past positions, or when somebody points out a contradiction in something he's said or done. I think that he acts immature when he starts calling people names instead of answering the question. I think Ted Cruz is really smart. He's very principled, and I believe he's a conservative constitutionalist, and so I'm cruising with Ted today.
All right, and Kim, I appreciate that. You laid that out very well and very well spoken, so I appreciate you checking in, and make sure you get your friends and family to vote as well. All right, so we're going to take more of your phone calls here on the program going forward at 888-900-9966. Hold those until after the break. I have to get this in. This hour of the Steve Gruber Show is brought to you by the Michigan 529 programs, making sure your kids and grandkids get the education they need. To learn more, go to SaveWithMI529.com. That's SaveWithMI529.com. It's primary day in Michigan. I want to know how you're voting. I'll continue to take your phone calls at 888-900-9966. 888-900-9966. Keep it coming. We want to know what you're thinking and why you're voting the way you're voting. We'll have all of those answers straight ahead on the Steve Gruber Show.
Getting your day started with news from around the state and around the world. Common Sense Radio. This is the Steve Gruber Show.
You know what's weird, Alex? What's weird is that we haven't gotten one call from, we got Clancy in Langsburg said he's voting for Bernie and going to stay on the couch all day and let us go to work today. But no Hillary supporters today, and no Bernie. Alex, are you turning them away at the phone, or what's going on? All right, he says he's not turning them away down there, but no Bernie supporters and no Hillary supporters. Where are you people? I mean, come on. We're going to start with Mike this round in East Lansing. Mike on the line. Mike, what's on your mind?
Morning, Steve. My wife and I just came from our polling place here in East Lansing. We were number 20 and 21 voting, both voting on the Republican ticket. Small sample, but my wife noticed somewhere that there were, with the two of us, there were 11 Republicans who'd voted and 10 Democrats who voted in the Democratic primary.
So here's my question: Is it looked about normal to you? Did it look heavier? Did it look, give me a historical idea.
I thought it was light, given the importance of this election, but I think a little bit light.
Yeah, I'm
trying to recall.
Yeah, I'm getting mixed returns on that. Some places I'm being told that it's pretty heavy, and some places it's average like yours. I just wonder, because in other states we've seen record turnout, and so we'll find out. But Mike, thank you so much. Who'd you vote for? Can you share that?
I'd be happy to. I voted for Trump. My first vote was the presidential election, and I voted for Reagan. Since then, I voted straight Republican. Both Bushes, McCain, Dole, Romney. I helped get Republican majorities in the House and Senate in the last 2-3 cycles. It seems as if the people that we put in are not voting and politicking, and politicking is a fine career.
It is.
But they're not politicking for the American people. They're not doing what we sent them to Washington to do.
All right, Mike, I got to run. You're right. They're not doing a lot of what they got to do. I got to run. Greatly appreciate you checking in. Jason, real quickly to Jason before we get to our next guest. Jason, where are you calling from, and who'd you vote for?
I'm calling from the Lansing area. I went ahead and voted for Kasich this morning.
Yeah, and what made you do that? What was your deciding factor?
There's a couple factors. The first factor, I think, was after watching the debate in Detroit on Thursday, and the top three that were sort of engaged in that tit for tat and sort of a childish argument. And then I also could take a look at his record and the fact that he was in Congress and on the Budget Committee the last time the Congress passed a balanced budget. And the fact that he's been an effective leader in Ohio, and he turned a budget shortfall into a $2 billion surplus. Maybe that magic can rub off on the United States, and maybe that's what we need right now.
Jason, thank you for checking in. I greatly appreciate it. Quickly now to our next guest, Kathy Berden, Republican National Committee woman from Michigan. Kathy, sorry to keep you waiting, but people are lighting it up today. Welcome to the program.
Yes, good morning.
It seems like it's going to be a busy day at the polls. Now, what I was hearing there, and you were hearing part of this too, some places I've seen average turnout, people telling me, other places quite heavy turnout. What are you expecting today?
I think it's going to be a heavier than normal turnout. People are very invested in this. The candidates have been great. They've been to Michigan like over 30 times, showcasing and giving their different ideas and with the debates. And I think it's going to be a closer race than anybody thinks, too. I just know so many different people in the areas that I visit that all have, there's about 3 or 4 candidates, and it can be closer than anyone thinks it's going to be for today's race. And I really have to applaud. And you really give a nice appreciation to the time, talent, and treasure that the supporters have given of these individual candidates, too. I mean, they've worked so hard on their behalf, and they're still working today. So there's a lot of people very invested and very interested in this outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that John Kasich will be in Lansing at the Lansing Brewing Company today at noon. I think Ted Cruz, he was here at a rally in Grand Rapids yesterday. I don't think he's here now. I don't think Donald Trump's here now. But I think it's a 3-way race as well. The Real Clear Politics average shows Donald Trump winning. But then it's a dogfight between Kasich and Cruz for second place. Just a couple of weeks ago, that was not the conversation. John Kasich has come way up in the polls. We just heard a gentleman call in who voted for the governor of Ohio this morning. You think it's a 3-way race for the top today?
I do. Yeah. And I've been neutral. I've heard some of your people saying who they're voting for. In my position, I've chosen to stay neutral in this race, but I've encouraged everyone to vote for the candidate of their choice. And then when we do have our eventual nominee, for everyone to coalesce behind that person for the election, because that's who's going to be on the ballot, whoever that is.
Right.
But we have such good candidates in comparison to what the Democrats have, so I think we can't go wrong.
Well, a lot of truth there. We haven't heard from any Bernie or Hillary supporters here yet today, Kathy. I'm shocked. I mean, we're just lovable, fuzzy people here at the program. I don't know why they don't call me.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't get through. Your lines are so busy. That's what it is.
That could be it, Kathy, and I greatly appreciate it. I guess we'll catch up with you after the election to see how busy it was and who came out on top. But I guess the good news today is that Michigan Republicans made the right move, and Michigan as a whole made the right move by pushing our primary to the 8th of March, because we are relevant, and like you said, the candidates have been here 30 times, which is good for the voters of Michigan, no question, right?
It's very right, and I wish everybody encouraged them to get out and voice their choice today at the polls.
All right.
Because that's our duty and our right to do.
Voice your choice.
Vote.
There you go.
Voice your choice.
All right, that's a good line, Kathy. I like that. Voice your choice by voting. Kathy Berden, a pleasure, and thank you for stopping by.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Kathy Berden, Republican National Committee woman from Michigan. Voice your choice. We're going to go ahead and use that for the rest of the day. The phone number here to tell me who you're voting for is 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. If you're on your way into work and you can't stand being away from us, which I understand, go to SteveGruber.com, click the Listen Live button. I'll be right here for you. There's counseling sessions Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 9. I am your lead counselor. We can talk about things. Put it all out there on the table. Everybody will feel better, all right? Kumbaya, kids. It's the Steve Gruber Show.
Genuine Michigan common sense on display every day.
Take the last train to Clarksville and I'll meet you at the station. You can be here by 4:30.
All right, boys and girls, step to the microphone. Be somebody, be heard today. 888-900-9966. 888-900-9966. 59 Republican delegates up for grabs. 130 Democratic delegates up for grabs. Republicans also voting in Mississippi, Idaho, and Hawaii. Democrats will be voting in Mississippi in addition to Michigan today. So a lot going on, but Michigan is the big prize today. Make no mistake, we are the epicenter of all things politics. And we want to know what you're thinking, so light it up, kids. 888-900-9966. We're going to start with Marty in Kalamazoo. Marty, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you. It's nice to talk to you. I enjoy your show whenever I have a chance to listen.
Thank you very much. What do you think?
When I started learning a little bit about Ben Carson a couple of years ago, he was my guy. I really think that he's unmatched as far as his integrity and the character of that man. But I knew pretty early on that he probably didn't have what it would take to really go very far. So today I voted for Ted Cruz. He was my second choice. I don't like Donald Trump, but when it comes to Tuesday in November, I'm going to have to vote for whoever has the R behind their name.
Right.
That's the stuff to it.
You won't sit on the sidelines and let Hillary Clinton get elected without a challenge, is what you're saying.
Absolutely not. No. This morning when I left work, I heard a couple of women talking in the locker room about going to vote, and they were talking about Bernie Sanders, and one of them made a comment that her daughter wanted her to vote for Hillary Clinton because we need a woman president. And the lady said, well, I'd vote for her if she was more honest.
Yeah, and that's the knock, Marty. No question.
Yeah.
I appreciate you checking in, Marty. I got to run. Thank you so much. Marty checking in from WKMI in Kalamazoo. She's on board with Cruz today. Now, our next caller here, this is a bit out of our general listening area, but so be it. Margaret is on the line calling from Ithaca, New York this morning. Margaret, welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for welcoming me.
Glad to have you.
Pardon?
Glad to have you.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
That's all right. I'm glad to have you on the line. What's on your mind?
Oh, thank you. Well, first of all, I really believe that people may want to be aware that a vote for either Hillary or Trump is a vote to continue the interests of very wealthy investors, because that's really what our economy has been all about. And Bill Clinton's NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, that vote in Congress, right after that, workers were fired from Honeywell and GE plants for attempting to organize independent unions. I mean, I think we really need to think about what it means to keep the status quo in place. I think you said you didn't get many Bernie supporters on the show, but I think what Bernie has in mind is to really revamp the system that keeps that status quo in place. These investors who are, they're making a killing all around the world, and we really haven't had much say in what's happening to us and our families in the USA.
Now, in fairness,
that's what I have to say.
Now, in fairness, Donald Trump has openly opposed NAFTA and the Trans-Pacific Partnership. He openly opposes both of those items, Margaret.
Donald Trump is a businessman and very good friends with the Clintons.
So is it fair to say then...
And that's a fact.
Margaret, is it fair to say you are are you feeling the burn? Are you a Bernie supporter?
Oh, I absolutely am a Bernie supporter, because our family, and I do have family out in Detroit, and I think the job losses have been calculated. There really aren't people really looking out for our economy. The investors, the very wealthy, are looking out for themselves.
All right, Margaret. Thank you for checking in from Ithaca, New York. Long way to call. I appreciate your input. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Anytime. Running down the list, I have no idea. Ithaca, New York. She's a Bernie supporter, feeling the burn, but she's not voting here today. Going down the line, Tim is on the line in DeWitt today. Tim, welcome to it.
Well, good morning, Steve. Thanks for having a conservative program in mid-Michigan.
I appreciate the support.
I have to take issue with Margaret and Ithaca. No wonder New York is such a mess with people like that, with that kind of thinking.
One would say if she could have heard me better, she was having trouble hearing me. I would have dug a lot deeper into that, but she is having trouble hearing me, so we had to move on. Who are you voting for today, and why?
I don't want to be too slanderous. Yeah, sorry about that. There's two things I want to say. Number one, the polls are packed this morning. I just came from voting in DeWitt Township, and knowing a lot of the poll workers, they said this is more like a general election. They haven't seen this kind of turnout in a long time. And, of course, weather has something to do with that, I'm sure. But it's amazing how many people are turning out today. And I just spoke with a few people. The anger, the animus that you can feel from people, they want to change, and they want to change big time.
They want
it now. That's great to see, because more people are coming out. And, yes, I am voting for Ted Cruz. I think by far Ted is the best candidate in the situation. Do I like Donald Trump? I do. I like Donald from the standpoint that he wants to make a change. He wants to radically change a lot of things that are taking place in our country currently. And I agree with him on many scales. But
for
Donald,
today,
I think, is certainly not the best man to do it. Yeah, I think Ted is by far the best candidate. And thanks for the opportunity to voice the opinion. Have
Tim,
a great day, Steve.
Thank you so much for chiming in. I greatly appreciate it. The hotline number here is 888-900-9966. Frank, also on the line, also in DeWitt today. Frank, welcome to the program.
Yeah, Steve, you're not getting Democrats because they're not up yet.
Come on.
Yeah,
you only say that because it's true.
Well, that's basically it. That's why you don't get very many Democrats in the show, because they're not up yet. But it's really interesting, folks. With all the publicity, Ted Cruz is only 84 delegates behind Donald Trump.
Oh, I know that.
And you wouldn't know that. He's breathing right down his neck. If Ted Cruz gets at least 15% of the vote today, he'll get some of the delegates. And watch the next week, because the big thing is if Marco Rubio drops out, and the next week, then there's going to be a uniting. Donald Trump does not have 50% of the Republican voters' support.
We're going to find out.
If Rubio drops out, Ted Cruz will beat him. And everybody vote for Ted Cruz. He's the best man by a mile for the job.
Frank, thank you for checking in. Thank you so much. We will find out. And Donald Trump also calling for Marco Rubio to drop out. Marco Rubio really a non-factor here in Michigan today. You've got Donald Trump in the Real Clear Politics average ahead in the high 30s, and then Cruz and Kasich battling for second place. Jeff joining us now on the line in Lansing. Jeff, what are your thoughts today? We've got about a minute.
The American middle class has always paid the bulk of taxes for infrastructure, military, and our trade deficit with China now. We're funding the Chinese military, and Ted Cruz's idea of free market capitalism, and most of them, is forcing American workers to compete for $1 an hour wages. And I question Ted Cruz's constitutionality on voting for fast-track legislation, allowing the president to make the entire negotiation, which gives Congress a pass on saying, well, I didn't vote for that, but I had to vote for the other stuff, the good stuff to get the bad stuff to get the good stuff.
All right. I greatly appreciate you checking in. I really do. The phone number here, 888-900-9966. Nothing but your calls from now until the end of the program, 888-900-9966 on The Steve Gruber Show.
Covering Michigan and the world from his bunker below the bridge. Here is Steve Gruber.
All right, my friends, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run them all out, as many as we can get in. Who you supporting and why? We've had calls from all over the state today. Kalamazoo, Ionia, Ovid, Harbor Springs, all over, and in fact, Ithaca, New York. Now, we had our one Bernie supporter called all the way in from Ithaca, New York to support her candidate today. We'll start with Ken in East Lansing. Ken, welcome to the program. Who are you voting for and why?
Thank you, Steve, and thank you for your great comments that you always do. We really appreciate your work on the radio there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I am. I actually already did vote for Ted Cruz, and the reason is because of his ideals. I think that they're right on. I was actually going to be voting for Marco Rubio, but in the last two debates, this acting like middle schoolers was not too cool. So, I voted for Ted Cruz. The lines are not bad, and I hope it goes well for him. That would be really outstanding. But again, thank you so much for your excellent comments. They're really most outstanding, and I'm so appreciative.
Ken, thank you so much for being a supporter and listening to the program. I do appreciate your support. Let's move down the line. Randy is checking in from Ovid today. Randy and Ovid, who are you voting for and why?
I've already voted today, and I voted for Ted Cruz. And the reason I voted for him is many reasons. He seems to be the only true constitutional conservative, one that wants to stick to the bedrock in which our nation and government is set upon, and then most of all, too, for the Second Amendment stance, and I just think he's got the experience and going to be a better leader, but I will vote for whoever is the presidential nomination.
All right, I greatly appreciate that, Randy. Thank you for checking in. The phone number is 888-900-9966. One line open at the moment, 888-900-9966. Who are you voting for and why? Step to the microphone and let the world know. Rebecca is on the line in Diamondale. Rebecca, welcome to the Steve Gruber Show.
Hi, good morning, Steve. How are you?
I am well. How are you, young lady?
I'm doing great, and I want to thank you for your show. We really appreciate everything you do, and we listen to you all the time, so thank you. My husband and I, we voted for Trump this morning. We were, fifth and sixth in line right at 7 o'clock this morning, and there was a line already forming, so they were busy. And the reason why we voted for Trump is because we're tired of the Republican establishment that's going on. And, come November, we will continue to vote whoever, the Republican nominee is. But we're tired of the same old, and it's time for some big changes.
Time to shake it up. So the Trump train is rolling. The Trump train is rolling in Diamondale, Rebecca. Thank you for checking in.
Thanks. Take care now.
Thank you so much. All right. So Bill is next on the line. He's calling in from Central Lake, listening to 1270 AM there. Bill, welcome to the Steve Gruber Show.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me on your show. I voted for Trump this morning, and the reason is I'm a lifelong resident of Michigan. I've watched the jobs get siphoned out of this country since NAFTA. To make America great again, we've got to bring the good-paying jobs back to America, and Donald Trump is the only man running that I believe can accomplish that.
So you want a clean house. You want to protect American workers. You're against NAFTA, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and all of that stuff that has been supported by the president and a lot of Republicans, for that matter. So, Bill, you're a jobs
You know,
voter.
Steve, I am. I'm a free market capitalist, and I 100% believe in free trade, but it has to be fair trade. And let me give you an example that
Real quick.
Donald Trump shared with us when I was in Cadillac.
Okay, real quick.
He said, right now, I'll make it real quick. Boeing is building 2 monstrous plants in China to build jets. He says, I guarantee you, the minute those plants are done, they're going to devalue their currency, and Boeing is going to shut their plant down. I think one's in Seattle and the other one's over on the East Coast. So this is what Donald's going to stop. I mean, we have to pay down our deficit and really cut, that $18 trillion down. Not only do we got a clean house in Washington, we've got to get people getting high-paying jobs again in America, and Donald Trump is the only one, in my opinion, that will accomplish that.
Bill, thank you so much for supporting us in Central Lake, 1270 AM. Thank you, Bill, for stopping by. John on the line in Traverse City now. John, welcome to the Steve Gruber Show.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me on from the Great White North up here.
Glad to have you. What's on your mind?
I voted this morning as well, and I'll be honest with you. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm kind of one of those middle-of-the-road Americans. 50 years old, been married for 30 years. I'm going to buck the trend and say that I am college educated. I have a master's degree. 3 of our 5 sons have college degrees. The other 2 didn't, and we're voting Trump. So this notion of you have to be uneducated to vote for Trump is absurd.
Yeah, the Trump train's rolling in Traverse City. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, Steve, and let's get everybody out there, regardless of who you vote for. It's your job. It's your duty. Vote.
There you go, John. Good message, and thank you for checking in from the Great White North. Dennis now in Rives Junction. Dennis, welcome aboard. What are your thoughts? Who are you voting for?
Steve, I'm going to have to vote for Donald Trump just because of the quality of who don't like him. The Pope, the President of South Korea, the Chinese potentate, the Prime Minister of Japan all tell us we shouldn't vote for him. Romney tells us not to vote for him. When somebody tells me not to vote for somebody, that makes me have to vote for him. There's a reason they don't want him in there. And also, there's nobody in Michigan in the right mind can vote for an Ohio man like Kasich. We just can't do that. That can't happen.
Yeah. Dennis, thank you for checking in, my friend. All right, we have room for one more here before we make it to the first break here. Mike in Schwartz Creek. What's on your mind, Mike?
I voted for Trump, and I think the Cruz and Rubio are going to form an alliance here before too long and run as a ticket.
Well, we'll see how that works out. I guess we'll find out, Mike. Greatly appreciate you checking in. And the phone number here, 888-900-9966. Joe in Grand Rapids. We got 30 seconds for you, my friend. Who you voting for and why? Joe, are you there?
Yeah.
Real quickly, who are you voting for and why?
I'm probably going to vote for Trump. I like Cruz, too. I think they should just team up and call it a day. Remember, if you don't win, all you can do is buy a anti-Hillary bumper sticker and complain for 4 years. So
thank you, Joe. Greatly appreciate you checking in. The lines are still open. 888-900-9966. A couple more calls straight ahead. Primary day, my friends. If you haven't voted already, please do. If you want to catch that John Kasich, Governor Kasich interview I did here in hour 1, go to stevegruber.com, check on the podcast. We have a chance to get a couple of more of your phone calls in at 888-900-9966. Who are you voting for and why? Arlene joining us in Grand Rapids, WJRW territory, 1340 over there. Arlene, welcome to it.
Thank you. I'll try to make this short. I was at the polls at 7:03, never been there that early, so I can't tell you if it was heavy or light. Couldn't wait to get to vote today. I voted for Trump, and regarding Cruz, if people would investigate Mrs. Cruz has done work for Goldman Sachs on the North American Union. I do not want a North American Union. I do not believe Cruz can win the general. He's too ideological. I don't believe he'll bring the Democrats, the liberals, the independents. I don't think we can win with him. As far as Kasich is concerned, he's in favor of Common Core. I am not, and my understanding is he privatized the prisons in Ohio, and I don't agree with that. There's been some privatization of the healthcare workers at our veterans home here in Grand Rapids, and it's a disaster. They are always short of help.
All right, Arlene, thank you for that.
The vet.
Arlene, thanks for checking
You're
in.
welcome.
Greatly appreciate it. The Trump train rolling through Michigan right now, it seems. And but we'll see. As you've heard this morning on the program, and we've heard from folks all over the state, Rives Junction, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Ionia, Central Lake, Harbor Springs, Schwartz Creek, Dimondale, Langsburg, Perry, Ovid, Traverse City, all over the state. We can give him one more here, Alex? All right, we might have a chance for one more. It'll be quick. But we'll have all the results here tomorrow on the Steve Gruber Show. And you can check out more at stevegruber.com. You can go there and check out the podcast. If you wanted to hear that interview with Governor Kasich that came in hour 1 today, feel free to do that. I greatly appreciate your support, my friends. Make sure you go and vote. As you can tell, it is deeply important to this country, to this state, and to you and I. We'll sort it all out tomorrow right here on the Steve Gruber Show. Have a great Tuesday.